So here we go. It's time for the EBC Brakes Superbike race number 1 from Sonoma Raceway. Clutches are out and a good launch from Bobier. And it's Tony Elias, though, who will take the whole shot as he sends it on up the hill.
Look at Josh Herron.
Oh!
Josh Herron crashes going into turn 4 right off the start, Greg, and takes somebody with him. Cameron's going to just try to stuff it right up underneath him. Can he get it stopped, Greg? That's the question.
Oh, no!
Man!
Cameron Bobier asked too much of that tire, and down he goes. Trail braking into that corner, and now he's going to hang out with Josh Herron. What a move by Garrett Gerloff on the inside as Tony Elias decided to leave the door open. Gerloff just snuck it in there. Foot down to the checkered flag will take his second EBC Brakes Superbike victory in a row, the second of his career. Standing up. The moment has arrived for the Cycle Gear Championship of Sonoma. Welcome to the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, round 7 of 10 for 2019 from Sonoma Raceway in beautiful, picturesque Northern California's Sonoma Valley. Hello everyone and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, who's won 2 world titles in his racing career. Now Jason, here we are, day 2 at Sonoma Raceway, getting ready for the EBC Brakes Superbike race. Yesterday it was a strange one, wasn't it?
It was very interesting, but it is the one that blew the championship wide open. Cameron Bobier here at Sonoma has been pretty much untouchable. He took a shot at Tony on the second lap in turn 4, and it went bad for him, and now it's given Tony a big points lead, but Garrett Gerloff goes on and wins race number 2.
It was a dominating performance from Garrett Gerloff. Why don't we take a look at race 1 highlights? Here's how it unfolded.
At the start of race 1, Cameron Bobier lined himself up to try to get the whole shot, but Tony Elias swept around from that 3rd spot on the grid to lead him up into turn 1. On the run, down to turn 4 on the first lap, Josh Herron made a bold bid to try to take 4th place away from Jake Lewis, only to lose the front and take Jake with him, and that was the end of both their races. A lap later, as they came up over that same section, Cameron Bobier made his bid for the lead, but lost the front as well, and with it, 25 crucial championship points. At that point now, his teammate Garrett Gerloff, fresh off of his victory at Laguna Seca, slid up underneath Tony Elias as they went down into the carousel, and from this point on, tried to just put smooth, consistent, fast laps together, which is exactly what he did. In Monterey, we saw this young man take his first victory, and not just that, we saw a brilliant ride at the front with consistent lap times and fast pace. At Sonoma, he did the same thing and cruised home to a 10-second victory.
Unbelievable for Garrett Gerloff. 2 wins in a row. That's the way you do it when you just start off your win streak. Here are the results with Garrett Gerloff on top, Tony Elias and Matthew Skoltz in 3rd. The lack of Cameron Bobier's name is really the story in this one. JD Beach and Jake Gagne, 4th and 5th. Fox Sports coverage of MotoAmerica Superbike racing from Sonoma Raceway is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the 2019 MotoAmerica Championship.
Hey guys, Cameron Bobier here. I'm sitting next to Mark. He's going to take us on a hot lap around Sonoma Raceway in the Roush Mustang, so buckle up. For me, around this place, I feel like just carrying your momentum is the best way to get around this place fast. I feel like that suits my R1 pretty good, just being able to flow through the track. And I feel like this is one of the tightest tracks we go to, so just keeping your momentum up, keeping roll speed is the fastest way around this place. And there's a couple corners though here and there where you have to kind of pick and choose, like the corner we're coming up to off the back straight, or this middle straight. You can bury it in there pretty deep on the brakes. and kind of point and shoot. This is pretty much one of the only corners on the track where you don't really roll through. Like, you just want to get in and get out as fast as you can. Thanks for the lap around here, man. This Roush is a beast.
Well, Cameron Bobier was the man here until his day ended up in the gravel trap yesterday. but it's Garrett Gerloff who takes over as the King of Sonoma, and Hannah had a chance to catch up with him about his 2-race win streak and his win from yesterday.
Garrett, 2 wins in a row for you. Where is this confidence coming from, and do you think you can keep that momentum going into today's race?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I definitely have a lot more confidence now. I mean, for sure, yesterday, Cam definitely kind of gave me a little present by crashing out, unfortunately, which made things a lot more simple for me, at least. But still, I mean, we have an awesome bike. The Yamaha R1 is working perfect. And, man, like I said, I was just able to put the bike anywhere that I wanted to. So, you know, after everything, I feel good for the race today. And we made a few adjustments, and we've worked on some stuff this morning. And we'll see kind of how it ends up. We definitely yesterday the tires dropped off at the end of the race, so if we're all together in a pack, it's going to be some dogfighting today. So I'll just do my best to put my nose up in there and try to be in the front toward the end.
Best of luck out there. Thanks, Garrett.
2.22 miles of rolling up and down. Built in 1968, a natural road course, 11 turns, 160 feet of elevation, and no real straightaway to speak of. It is definitely a fan favorite and a racer favorite. Let's get to Suzuki track hotspots, Jason, because I want to know where on this particular race course you're going to be able to pass and repass and show us some racing.
Well, you said it, Greg. This place has been around since 1968. And the first part of my hotspots hasn't changed at all. Up to turn 2. When you come up that start-finish line straight away, Greg, you're going to go up a big steep hill. It goes from a big steep uphill, and as you crest over the top of turn 2, it gets a little bit off camber. So that's going to be a spot you want to have your bike working at its best. The next hot spot, Greg, is going to be from turn 5 into the carousel turn 6. Kind of a staple of Sonoma Raceway. Turn 6, everybody knows what the carousel is. Your bike's leaned over for a long period of time. Can be a bit bumpy down through there. Again, another big setup spot that you want to make sure your bike is comfortable and stable, because it leads on to the only little tiny straightaway we have down to my next hot spot, turn 7. We'll see passes early on in the race here while the field is bunched up, and we could see a late race pass here for victory like we've seen in the past. Out of there, you're going to go down through a series of S's that is also very fast and flowing to turn 9. Chicane that was built a few years ago to make the racing just a little bit safer here. Way to get the bike slowed down, but it created another passing spot, Greg. So another good place for people to try to plan something on the last lap. And then our last place, turn 11. We've seen this change over the years. It's a short run from there to the start-finish line, but expect some action in that last corner as well.
All right, thank you, Jason, for the Suzuki track hotspots. Riders are lining up, so when we return, Hannah's Grid Walk. Don't go anywhere. So many amazing things to see and do here at Sonoma Raceway during the MotoAmerica race weekend. Riders coming out here, and there's all kinds of fan activities to do. Classic motorcycles, people talk about them, and great for the family too, Jason. It was a great event this weekend as we start to wrap things up from Sonoma Raceway with still great race action ahead of us. Let's get down to Hannah, who's on the grid.
Josh, pretty rough start to the race yesterday. You had a crash and were unable to rejoin the race. Tell us about what happened.
Just unfortunate racing incident. You know, it sucks to start the race that way. Sucks to start the weekend like that, but it is what it is. Looking forward to today. Hopefully I can get my Yoshimura Suzuki up towards the front and get back to the pits so I can enjoy some fresh and lean meals.
Thanks, Josh. Now, amongst all of the chaos during that start yesterday, Jake Lewis kind of got swept off the side of the track and was kind of a collateral here. Let's talk to him and see what he thinks about it. Tell us about the start to your race yesterday and ultimately why you were forced to retire.
Oh, well, the start was actually really good. Got off the line, I think, in 4th and made it to about turn 4. And, you know, I saw Josh coming up the inside of me and kind of prepared myself, you know, because I actually thought he was going to hit Garrett and kind of take us both wide. And luckily, you know, I stayed on the bike and didn't crash. But by the time I gathered it up, you know, I was way out in the grass and off by the air fence and joined at the end of the pack in turn 7, but I guess you're not supposed to cut, you know, from 4 to 7, and unfortunately got disqualified, which I thought was a little bit of a harsh penalty, but it is what it is. You know, today's a new day, and we're out here lined up for race 2 and hoping for another good start. And you know, the M4 XR Suzuki guys put a good bike underneath of me, and hoping for a good race. You know, the pace is going to be fast and it's a long race, so just try to be mistake-free and get off to a good start.
Thanks, Jake. Best of luck out there. Now let's move on up the grid here. I want to check in with one more rider before they take off. Matt, you have had kind of an up and down weekend, a crash and a podium yesterday. and another crash this morning. So does that mean you're going to get another podium today?
I would love to think so, but yeah, I mean, it's been a very up and down weekend for us. When you're coming here, the bike would be pretty good. You know, it's a tighter track, so I definitely think that suits me. But yeah, unfortunately, in yesterday's practice on lap 3 or something, I high-sided and wasted a whole session. Absolutely totaled the bike. Thankfully, the Westby boys put it back together. We went out for the race and finished third. I think it definitely helped us out that Bobby and Heron crashed, you know, but this morning's warm-up, we made a couple of changes where we think it would definitely be positive for us, and unfortunately I crashed again on the second or third lap out. So, you know, I gave the Westby guys a lot of work, but fortunately for me, they got everything patched up, and you know, we didn't really get to try everything that we wanted to, but I think we're going to gamble slightly and just go for it, you know. Looking at the second practice, it's been pretty good, so just want to say thank you to everyone that's really, you know, behind me and the Westby team. It's been a difficult season, but I feel like we're getting somewhere.
Let's see if those big changes pay off for Matt Schultz.
3 podium appearances so far in this season. What about your championship points leader? What does he have in the tank? We're going to find out when we come back. Stay with us. Fox Sports coverage of MotoAmerica Superbike racing from Sonoma Raceway is brought to you by EBC Brakes, official brake pads of the 2019 MotoAmerica Superbike Series. Beautiful Sonoma County, wine country, Northern California hot spot for people to come on a weekend vacation. Sonoma Raceway right in the middle of it all. It is a fantastic weekend. The sun has been shining. A nice gentle breeze today. The stage is set for perfect conditions for racing. Welcome to the Cycle Gear Championship of Sonoma. Let's take a look at the starting grid, Jason Bridmore, because the start's really important here at Sonoma Raceway. Cameron Beaubier, your pole sitter. Garrett Gerloff in second. Tony Elias in the third place position. And then you have Matthew Schultz, Jake Lewis, and David Anthony, who he was just thrashing to get his bike back together from yesterday.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see that much of warm-up this morning, so I wasn't sure how David went, but that's a tremendous effort from him. Josh Herron, Jake Gagne, JD Beach going to round out row 3. JD finished in 4th yesterday. Kyle Wyman, Cameron Peterson, and Jeremy Coffey. They got his bike back together as well, so he's going to be starting outside row 4. Then we got Max Flinders and Sam Bertorico in row 5.
So the note about the number 11, Matthew Schultz in the Westby Racing Yamaha, is the rules in MotoAmerica kind of read this way. You have to start, it's a one-bike rule. So you're allowed to get one bike through tech inspection, and that's the bike that you need to ride all weekend unless you go declare that that bike has been totaled. And so with the Schultz team, that's what happened. They started this morning on the B bike, and then that got totaled, so they went back to the A bike and had to put that thing together. So it's been a little complicated, but MotoAmerica, you know, race control has been on top of it. So the motorcycle that Matthew Schultz is on is the motorcycle that he actually started on
originally. Yeah, originally.
You can figure that one
That's
out.
been a rough weekend. I'm just looking there. It looked like Tony had a little bit of drama of something going on with one of his crew members. He was talking to them at length. Everybody else had cleared the grid, and Tony was still talking, so I'm not sure what was going on. So we'll keep an eye on this warm-up lap, see what's going on. But you had Matthew this weekend, just had, you know, unfortunately, but fortunately, I drove him in this morning after his incident, and obviously he was pretty dejected. He was really bummed because he appreciates what his team does for him. And all those guys, like we've said over the years, are our family down there, that whole team and Westby team. So he felt bad that he gave them more work this morning. But now he's out there and he's really feeling this bike out when you think about it, Greg. And that happened just, a couple hours ago. And now he's kind of on a bike he hasn't got to do a lot of laps on. So even this warm-up lap is so important just to see if you can get some sort of feel, make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, I think really for the Westby team, shooting at a podium is always great, but a top 5 finish for the number 11 is going to be what they were looking for to get out of here. This guy, Garrett Gerloff, has been absolutely on fire. We've talked about him at length. He's on an incredible podium streak. He hasn't been off the podium since round 5. This is a race number 5. This is race 14 for Garrett Gerloff, Jason. And, you know, he's won 2 in a row. As for this guy, Tony Elias, yesterday, finishing 10 seconds behind the leader. It was a struggle. He started to cramp up. He was putting so much effort in the bike. The team went back and made all kinds of changes, but he did change the front tire. All right, let's get to Hannah, who has our Cycle Gear last-minute report.
Yeah, Greg, like you said, Tony did make a decision to change that front tire today, so hopefully that'll help him stay up front or close the gap if he's having to chase someone down today. So he went from that super soft front tire to the extra soft today, a little harder compound to maybe get some more front end feel. So keep an eye out on him today.
Okay, Hannah, thanks for that. And also, I think the word is that the track conditions, it was really warm at race time yesterday, Jason, and that was playing a little bit of a factor into it as well. So Tony Elias with that compound change, like Hannah said, and we'll see if it's going to be able to get him the distance of this race.
Yep. And we're going to see what this guy can do. Cameron Beaubier is just dying for a win here, especially. I feel like he's had 3 pretty frustrating races in a row. We don't get to see Cameron frustrated very often.
Cameron made a tire change too, by the way.
It's all going to be off the start. And you can see Tony. Tony's ready to go. All these guys are ready to go, but it's a matter of getting this jump.
Superbike race number 2, EBC Brakes, Superbike, and Cameron Beaubier, a good launch, but it's Tony Elias trying to find some room around the outside.
Cameron needs to just... Oh, there he goes. He's got it, Greg. He should just go right to the inside, going up into turn 2, which he does. Cameron's got the start that he wanted. Now he's got to get his head down.
For Tony Elias, this moment right here is an uh-oh moment. He wanted to control the pace for the first 5 laps, he told me. Didn't want to let Cameron get out there. He told me, Tony Elias, he said if Cameron got out front, he thinks that Cameron could have won this race by 30 seconds or more.
Well, it looks like that already. I think this is a lot bigger uh-oh moment if it was race 1. Race 2 yesterday, or race 1 yesterday, Tony just hauled away 20 points and increased his championship. Now it's a matter of, okay, let's get into damage control mode. Look at Cameron Beaubier go right off the start, Greg. It's almost a second or more as they head up into turn 7, going up there. Now all of our riders have got through the carousel and stuff cleanly this time, which I like to see. Matthew Skoltz, there he is, Greg. He's, 6th place, 5th place?
5th place.
Yep, 5th place behind Jake Lewis. Jake Lewis, 4th place, just where he started off yesterday. There's a good shot in the arm for him and that team. He's going to get his eyes forward and try to go with those 3 bikes in front of him.
In a few laps for the M4 X-Star Suzuki team, it's going to be uncharted territory. A brand new tank that team arrived at this race with, Jason. And it's a tank that moves the center of mass closer to the middle of the bike and down a little ways. And so that's exactly what they wanted, an improvement on the GSX-R 1000 in race trim, in Superbike race trim. Here's Cameron Beaubier on the Monster Energy Yamaha factory racing machine.
I think if anything, Tony closed that gap down the last half of the lap. It's all this little area that Cameron, the top part of the track, Cameron was awful fast on that start. And there's a view out the back of Tony Elias's bike, and you can see back there Garrett Gerloff, our winner from yesterday, and Jake Lewis is going with Garrett.
Now keep in mind the capacity of fuel for these 22 laps. It does have an effect on the motorcycle. In my conversation this morning with Tony Elias, we talked about that. You know, I said, Tony, is it fair to say the fuel load and the bike feels better? He says, definitely. It's still a factor. As the race wears on and the fuel load lightens up, it feels better. But also for Tony, Jason, he said he likes it when the tires start to go off. It allows him to get the motorcycle turned with the rear end of the motorcycle
Move
better.
the thing around a little bit. You can throttle control the bike a little bit more mid-corner out. So, yeah, and he was coming into this turn 7. I was out there again this morning for first lap, and he just runs it off in there. I think it's a way of him to test himself. Look at this little, who we got? Is that that's Jake Lewis.
Oh, no.
Jake Lewis is tipped off in turn 7. I saw the yellow helmet for a minute.
Yeah.
Then I saw the size, and I'm like, it's definitely not Tony. It was Jake Lewis.
Out of 4th place, the M4 X-Star Suzuki rider crashes out in what could have been his best finish. It's early days for sure, but Jake Lewis was in a really good spot as they were pulling away from this pack. So we'll see if he can get that bike going again.
This is the fight for 4th right now between Skoltz, Josh Herron, JD Beach, and Jake Gagne. Jake Gagne was having trouble getting his bike started on the siding lap, but they got that thing fired up. Jake Gagne is running right there where we kind of expect him to be in that group that he's in there.
Talking to Steve Scheibe, who is the team owner of that BMW that Jake Gagne is on, he told me today that, you know, they don't have anyone on that team on a BMW and Superbike, so they've got to spend a lot of time looking at data to get that bike dialed in. Lewis back out on track. We'll see if he's going to continue or pull it into the pits.
Yep.
So he's got that GSX-R 1000 rolling. Matthew Skoltz, Westby Racing, 4th place, just ahead of Josh Herron, number 2, and JD Beach, number 95. JD coming off of a ridiculous week of racing. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
2 flat track, different disciplines, TT, half mile, and now Superbike road racing. kid's got to be worn out a little bit.
And they had that flat track midweek, so I think it was Saturday that they did the TT.
Then Tuesday.
Tuesday, wasn't it, that they did the half mile, and then he's here doing the Superbike. And yeah, so a busy week for him.
Looking at Westby Racing, that's that gold and black motorcycle, number 11, South African Matthew Skoltz on the podium yesterday. Oh, Skoltzy getting all kinds of crazy under acceleration.
I'm sure Matthew's ridden with a little sense of carefulness in his first couple of laps. As they come down into turn 9, Josh Herron was looking like he wanted to take a shot at him. Matthew's bike looks a little bit loose, but once Matthew kind of gets used to that, once he gets used to the field, I'm looking at somebody's bike here, Greg.
That's on board. That's Tony.
Is that Tony Elias?
Tony Elias,
wow.
Our championship points leader.
You know, when they were coming in here, I heard something scraping, and I didn't know what it was, but that's Tony in turn 7.
So Tony Elias with a big chance. He was 1 second behind Cameron Beaubier. Let's take a look at the replay and see what happened, Jay.
This is going to be coming out of the carousel. You see Garrett Gerloff has closed up a little bit, and as well, Tony had closed up that half track, the last half of the track on the first lap. This is where he's been testing himself all weekend going in here. I've seen him run wide there so many times, but you're going to see he just loses the front, Greg. Loses the front, probably broke a handlebar off or did something to where he couldn't get the bike picked back up, and you can see how aggravated he is. This is, I tell you, this is just giving Cameron and both these Yamaha guys a bunch of points. 25 and 20, it's 45 points he's handed back to the Yamaha today.
So 59 points was the advantage. But, Jay, again, this is what happens in this championship. So Cameron crashes out yesterday and gives Tony 20 back. And if Cameron can hold on to this.
Now we got the battle for third behind Garrett. Garrett Gerloff is going to do everything he can, obviously, to catch his teammate. It's going to be a difficult task, I think. I think Cameron's going to be pretty locked in. I believe they're probably going to show it on both the boards that Tony is out, if they don't already know that. Obviously, Garrett saw him fall. This quartet of riders in our screen now. Whoa. I know, it's a big word for me, quartet. They saw him fall as well, but Cameron Beaubier might not know it at this point unless when he went up to turn 7 he saw Tony walking around.
This could bode well, too, for Josh Herron, who's had no rhythm this season. There's Tony Elias, your championship points leader. He had 59 coming into this one. It's not going to be that coming out. But Tony told me, Jason, that he goes moment by moment, meaning he goes into every race wanting to win the race. Yep. And then he starts to analyze as laps go on, does he have the package to win the race? Does he have enough to take the risk? On this one, it was just a mistake by Tony Elias. He was pushing hard to chase down Cameron Beaubier, and obviously turn 7 just caught him out a little bit. Sonoma Raceway claims another EBC Brakes Superbike victim, Tony Elias, out of this one. There's Cameron Beaubier. He's going to know it, though, Jay.
And that walk that he's doing right now, and you can see the current standings as they sit now. 34 points to Cameron, 40 points to Gerloff. So, and the walk that Tony took is back to the inside of the track, which means he didn't want to go talk to anybody. He could have walked to the outside. Somebody could have picked him up, but he's walking down the inside of the track. Up in this area to your right would be, to Cameron's right now is where Tony is. And he's probably having a little talk with himself. We've seen him do it one other time, Greg. That was in the second race at Road America, last corner, last lap. Kyle Wyman has pitted the Ducati, so he's had a rough weekend. 2 DNFs for him this weekend, it looks like, unless they can get him back out rolling around.
Yeah, so unfortunately with Ducati right down the street, their corporate headquarters here in Northern California, the Ducati truck came out with display bikes here at MotoAmerica at the Cycle Gear Championship of Sonoma. And for Kyle Wyman, at least at the moment, the Ducati Richmond KWR Ducati, that Panigale V4R out of this one. Matthew Skoltz. Jason, before you talk about Garrett, it's just
look at that thing moving around.
The up and down weekend, though. I mean, if he could really, Skoltz, put this thing on the podium again after crashing 2, there's Tony walking back, like you're talking about, Jason. I just think it would be incredible. But Skoltz has got a lot of work to do in this one, because he has got a hard-charging Josh Herron behind him. Now, keep in mind, Jay, Josh Herron didn't have the data, the information.
The ability,
yeah, exactly. So the bike that he's working on was whatever he had in warm-up, a couple of clicks, and he's racing this thing. So Josh Herron still sorting out his Suzuki.
Yeah, for both of these guys, going back to their team truck at the end of this race and delivering a podium is going to be really important. Obviously, with Matthew throwing 2 bikes away, and he's done it out of this turn. The first time yesterday was touching that curbing, and the second time was right in the middle of this turn today. So he's done it in kind of the same spots. Obviously, he would love to deliver another podium to that team. Herron's probably in the same boat, probably was a little bit careful at the beginning of this race, let things play out. Now he's fighting for a podium, and just behind them, JD Beach is sitting there watching these guys go together.
We're watching a great battle for third place right now. Hannah, what do you have going on?
Kyle Wyman's pit, and they're putting tire warmers on the bike, and the team is really scrambling to fix what looks like some kind of mechanical issue. So it seems like they're trying to get him back out there as soon as possible. So keep an eye out for that. I'll keep you guys updated.
All right, we know that there was a bit of a problem, and
yep, this is the race back for third now between Skultz and Herron, and they broke away from Gagne. And JD Beach is trying his best to just go with these guys.
There's Cameron Beaubier, and ooh, Garrett Gerloff was a lot closer than that last time by. Jason, what do you think?
He had closed that gap down, Greg, even on this lap. And then from where Greg and I sit here, we could see nearly the whole track. And outside our window, I saw Garrett make a mistake going into turn 9. He had to take to the dirt, go across the dirt, and bring the bike back on. So this is why we've seen Garrett go from, what did he do that last time? 36.7 for Cameron Beaubier. And a dirt track, and Garrett Gerloff did a 37.5. So now that gap is at 2.2, but it was actually closer than that, Greg, at one point during that last lap.
A lot of work to do to get back up to Cameron Beaubier. Garrett Gerloff, obviously extremely fit after 3 weeks spending training, basically. Garrett Gerloff with 16 laps to go, though. The question is, how hard do you have to push those Dunlop tires? It looked to me, Jason, at the beginning of this race that front tire choice was a little different. Gerloff had the extra soft, the same combination that he had yesterday. And for Cameron Beaubier, he went with a different front tire choice. So that could play a factor deep in this race.
Well, Garrett's good about running lap times, too. He's got that clean track in front of him. But we have the ability to sit here and look at our splits and watch the splits and see if things start coming down. He's gained 2/10 so far on this lap back to what he was there in the third split. And he's got a lot of confidence. So he's got to see Cameron up there, but he's just got to focus on his timing, his laps, try not to make up too much time in too many unimportant spots, meaning some of these slow corners. Got to get the bike slowed down and get them through it. Here's the battle again for third spot. Josh Herron having a look at Matthew Skultz. He's not quite close enough as he goes up into turn 11. Josh thinks the better of it.
So Matthew Skultz flying the flag, trying to put his Yamaha R1 on the box and make it a Yamaha sweep here at Sonoma Raceway. But Josh Herron has other ideas, now flying the flag for Suzuki.
I feel like Josh has a little pace. I feel like he's got some pace, but he wants to make this pass as clean and as good as he can. So we'll watch kind of when these two guys come out of the carousel. You can see Josh's bike looks like it turns into 3A, 3B pretty good up over the top. I feel like where he probably would have the biggest advantage over Matthew might be exiting the carousel on the run up to turn 7. So that's what we're going to look for.
Yeah, looking at the stability of that bike coming over that hill down into the carousel. On the acceleration.
Here we go. He's close enough now where if he can get to the, he's going to the left. So he's got to kind of be over to the right, it would seem. But Matthew's obviously very fast out of there as well, Greg, out of the carousel. So
again, the Westby Racing team still new with the electronics package they have available. With the Yoshimura Suzuki of Josh Herron, they've been around a while, so it's, the data that they were able to gather and put together after yesterday's entire race. We'll have to see as the tires start to wear out what the number 11 is going to have, because it's the on bike adjustments and the electronics that they have available.
Yep.
All the while, JD Beach, the number 95, hanging around on that Attack Performance Estenson Racing Yamaha.
JD's bike looks pretty solid as well. It's when you see that difference coming out of that corners, that as they head now down into turn 1, JD just kind of looks like he's sitting there. All these guys are high 37s, 37.9, 37.9, and 37.8 for JD Beach.
Yeah, if you're wondering, back up front, Cameron Beaubier and Garrett Gerloff, for the last 2 laps, the lead has been 2 seconds, 2.1. So they're right in that window of 36 seconds apiece. So Garrett hasn't made any inroads on Cameron Beaubier just yet, as we continue to watch this battle for third spot between number 11 Matthew Skultz, number 2 Josh Herron, and 95 JD Beach. 14 laps remaining in this one, with Jake Gagne in 6th, Cam Peterson in 7th, David Anthony in 8th, Jeremy Coffey in 9th, Max Flinders in 10th, and Sam Bertorico in 11th spot. listening to the throttle.
Just listen to it.
Beautiful sound of that Yamaha R1 engine.
It's going to short shift it out of here. Nope. Keeps. Yep, there's a short shift up to third. It's going to go back to second now for turn 11. Maybe sound like 2, actually. Nope, that's going to be second out of there, Greg.
Yeah.
Up to third, and he's going to go back to second again for turn 1. And in the meantime, his teammates trimmed it down to 1.8 on that lap. 36.8, 36.5 for Garrett Gerloff. So Gerloff running with a lot of confidence. You're going to draw a straight line right into turn 2 as you come up over the top of the hill. And that's where Garrett Gerloff is. You can see he's not going to give it to him. I mean, look, this championship is still wide open. There's no reason why Garrett Gerloff can't win the championship. So that's 5 points.
This is exactly what I was thinking in my mind while you were talking about it is, team orders. Is there any?
No,
Does it really matter for the Monster Energy Yamaha factory racing team? I mean, right now between Cameron Beaubier and Garrett Gerloff, there's only 1 point in the championship for them.
There's no.
So it's kind of leave it to them to start duking it out.
Yep. And, the thing is that Garrett wants to keep Cameron as honest as he can. 13 to go. There is a ton of this race left. So, and right now it's anybody's championship. Tony's kind of gifted these guys a little bit today and made it a little bit more hard on himself. Keeps it good for us, but it makes it a little harder for him. Here comes Josh Herron. Still not quite close enough. Thought about it, though.
Backside of Sonoma Raceway. A newer, I guess probably one of the newest parts of the circuit besides the chicane over the years that we've been here.
Yeah, they've changed that probably 3 or 4 times since I've known it, and I've ridden it a few different ways down there in turn 7. But I don't really see any clear-cut places where Josh. I think there's places where Josh looks a little bit quicker, but they're like in weird spots. So Herron right now still looking for a way around Matthew Schultz. Matthew doing a good job, and with every lap that Matthew continues to ride, or with every lap that he goes around on this bike, he's going to get a little bit more comfortable on it. Because yesterday's bike looked pretty solid in the race.
It definitely did.
And they made some changes, and we saw early just in the beginning of this race where the thing was moving around quite a bit.
Jason, you've raced here, had a lot of success here at Sonoma Raceway. What's your favorite part of this particular racetrack?
Where they're at. I love the run from turn 1 up to 2. I love the run down here into 3 and 3. I think it's a really neat place when your bike is working good and it comes up over the top of all these little rises and you have grip and the bike's going the direction you want it to go. It's a really fun place, and I really think that there's a bunch of spots here at Sonoma. I always love this place. This little area here, they're going from turn 5 up into the carousel. It's a very unique spot that we don't see anywhere else, really, into a big long left. Here's a look at our leaders. 1.5 now. Garrett Gerloff is just chipping away, and this is where, when you're Garrett, you want to just keep on hitting those marks, not making any mistakes, and at 0.3 a lap, he'll be there by the end of the race. He's got time. We're only halfway through.
That's it, the halfway point of this race. Garrett Gerloff is making a charge on his teammate Cameron Beaubier. Only 1.5 seconds separate 1 from 2. Out of the final corner, across, start-finish line goes Cameron Beaubier. We'll check that gap. 1.6 seconds, so Beaubier got a 10th back. Oh, and Max Flinders coming off of his best EBC Brakes Superbike finish from yesterday, down in turn number 2. A heartbreak for the privateer. He'll be back in a couple weeks when we get to Pittsburgh. But Cameron Beaubier has heard the call. Last time by a 36.6 to Garrett Gerloff's 36.8.
Still, it's only 1.6 seconds, so Cameron's probably thinking, why are you making this so hard?
Yeah,
hey, we got a 1-2 here, teammate. We're okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because Garrett Gerloff is on a 2-race win streak and wants to extend it to 3.
No doubt.
Is this a look at Max?
Oh, man, he got high-sided too. That's a high side off the inside, folks. So basically the rear snaps around, and you're hanging off the inside of the bike, and it snaps back so quickly it throws you off the inside of the bike. So it's actually the better way to go. if there's a good way of high-siding, it's a better way to go. But just glad to see Max is up and okay.
And he was having a good battle with Jeremy Coffey, who's back in the race, the number 42. So. And we heard also, for all you Ducati fans, that Kyle Wyman's back in action on his Ducati, so he's out there. So now with Max Flinders' exit, there's Wayne Rainey, president of MotoAmerica, three-time 500 Grand Prix champ, enjoying his creation of racing here in the United States. And he should, as the battle for third place starting to spread out ever so slightly. I mean, we're talking maybe 2 or 3 bike lengths, but this is the mid part of the race, Jason,
Correct.
where sometimes people just settle into a rhythm. It's not always 100% charge.
No, it's exactly right. And I think that right now for these 3 guys, they've just kind of locked in. They know where each other are at. They know where each other's strengths and weaknesses are. It's just a matter of making a plan for this last half of the race. As we saw that halfway flags were a couple laps back now. But it's just a matter of looking at your board. All 3 of these guys are in the hunt for that podium. The thing that concerns me a little bit about JD is acceleration off of a couple of the corners. They gap him enough where it makes it hard for him to make up any time other than braking, but not close enough to break past him. Now, 1.3, Greg, is the gap now between the 2 teammates at the front. 36.8 that last time by the number 1 at Cameron Beaubier. Garrett Gerloff runs 36.5. So we're 1.3 seconds, and he's chipped another 1/10 away in the first sector of this lap. So the 31 of Garrett Gerloff is trying really hard right now to get to the back tire of his teammate.
Yeah, this is incredible as Cameron Beaubier throws it sideways a little bit. It looks like he's having a lot of fun, does Beaubier, but the pressure from his teammate, just very interesting in this championship because, Jason, mark my words, this guy right here, number 31, Garrett Gerloff, he rolls when we get to Pittsburgh. He loves that track. He was fast in his rookie year last year, and he might be a really difficult rider to beat when we roll into pit race. Battle for third, 11, Matthew Skoltz, 2, Josh Herron.
The big gap you're talking about here? Is that the battle for third?
I didn't say big gap. I said it was kind of growing a little bit. It's a
it was
couple of
trying
bike
to.
lengths. I mean, Herron a couple laps ago was really just on the tailpipe of Matthew Skoltz.
And you can see, he's in just a, Josh
Little,
looked really good there
yeah.
going in there, but then he had to release the lever just to get the bike to turn and ran over that curb and on the left there. But he looked, his bike looks pretty stable under braking going in. But there's my concern. See how close JD is? Watch on the exit here as Matthew ran a little bit wide.
Yeah, it's
See that
just
gap?
for JD. It's just he has to wait one extra moment to get on that gas, and then you see that 1 or 2 bike length gap.
Yep, and that's the gap that makes it hard because you want to try to go past people. Mostly at Sonoma, you're going to go by them on the brakes, and if you're not close enough to them on the exit of some of these corners, it makes it hard to get by them at the end of the straights.
Just taking a close look at Josh Herron's Yoshimura GSX-R 1000 and the stability of it. So he lost a little bit in the chicane, has already gained it right back up. Now the question is, if Josh Herron is feeling this is the moment in the race, this is the time in the race where I want to start making a move, if he feels like he has more pace than Matthew Skoltz and can get away from him. The smart thing to do is just, in my view, Jason, is just sit back here and let Skoltz lead. But where's he going to attack?
Well, and that's kind of probably a little bit of what he is doing, but I think he's also looking for a good safe spot that he can just literally just put it up underneath Matthew and do something with him. So these guys are coming down through the S's. And JD he can just kind of sit there, but he's not close enough down in this area, Greg, that I'm talking about, going down into turn 9. Doesn't look like he can do really anything with those guys there.
JD Beach looking really good on the motorcycle. And it looks like on our timing and scoring screen, Jason, that Garrett Gerloff had another little mistake. Now the gap has grown to 2.2 seconds.
And it was in the, Josh Herron gets a little bit in there deep and gets out wide. Gives Matthew a little bit of run, but that will just disintegrate probably by the end of the lap. Herron will close that gap right back up. But yeah, same exact spot for Garrett Gerloff again. That turn 9 area, he's gotten in there twice now, a little bit too deep. And that gap went from 1.3 to 1.5, and now it went to 2.2. So 36.7, minute 36.7 for Beaubier, minute 37.4 that time through for Gerloff. So now he's got all that work to do again. And it's really hard, Greg, as a rider, because you start getting, I don't want to use the word excited, but you start thinking, okay, I'm catching him. I can see it. I'm closing up. And you miss your spot just by a little bit. And look, there's that gap again. Now it's gotten bigger.
Yeah, so Cameron Beaubier he doesn't come under attack directly, but Gerloff just keeps chipping away at it, then he gives it back, chipping away, gives it back again.
But it's the pressure of a guy that can run consistent lap times over and over and over. And Gerloff knows.
Beaubier,
of Cameron Beaubier. He knows. There we go. Josh Herron slides up underneath
what
Matthew
a move.
Skoltz and gets him out of the way, gives him a little wave. And now we'll see if these two guys can go with this Yoshimura Suzuki. Has a good pass from Josh Herron, but we kind of been waiting for it. I kind of thought that was going to be the spot that he did it. And now we'll see if Herron can put his head down and create a little bit of a gap there back to Matthew and JD Beach. You can see he's gone in tight here. He didn't want to get fired right back on by Matthew Schultz as he went into turn 9.
This would be some redemption for what happened yesterday for his crew if Josh Herron can put this thing on the podium and he could break up that Yamaha dominance.
He gets in there a little bit deep. Yeah, he got a little deep, and Matthew
had really nowhere to go. He had to run that line out, didn't he?
Yep, he certainly did.
So Herron comes across the line. A 138.3, a 39.3 after the pass for Matthew Schultz, and there's the gap you're seeing. JD Beach now on the back wheel. Let's take a look at this pass, Jay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. He kind of gets in there, hit Matthew's knee, but they were kind of in. It's just a racing thing there, and you see Josh gives him a little bit of a wave. And,
Josh was committed.
He was committed to going in there. Yep, no question. But Matthew now is going to try to see if he can get that gap and try to close it back down. Herron's bike actually looked pretty good to me, to be honest. It's like, I know he didn't get to do all the laps that he wanted to do yesterday, but his bike still looks pretty solid underneath him. Now the leaders are into some lap traffic, and you can see Cameron Bobier goes past Sam Vertorico. Next in line looks like it'll probably be Jeremy Coffey as they head down towards turn 9. He's not going to be close enough, I don't think. So it's going to be between probably out of this next left. Yep,
Cameron Bobier has to check up for just a moment. He's going to get by Jeremy Coffey and try to extend his lead over Garrett Gerloff with about 7 laps to go in this one. Out of the final corner to the start-finish line goes Cameron Bobier, the number 1 plate. The Northern California resident under the sunshine today. He comes across the line. Garrett Gerloff does as well. So that tells us 2.4 seconds, the margin at the moment for Cam Bobier. Jason, do you think he caught lappers at a good spot?
Yes, he got him at the perfect spot because actually that lap there, Garrett closed up on him that lap. But Garrett has yet to get by the back markers. We're going to see if we look in the background, you can see that, and I don't think those guys caused any big grief for Garrett. I think that it just was a matter of Cameron just kind of got him in the right spot. This is going down into turn 3. And then from here, you're gonna flip it back over to the right, and it's a great spot to go watch, actually. You can see a lot of things here. You can see lean angle, you can see line, you can hear the throttle and what it's doing with each rider as they come up over the top of this hill. And then from this point here, you can't see the edge of the racetrack on your exit. So you kind of got to trust it, rely it, use that experience over the years of being able to go over that as many times as you can. So here's that battle again for third. And it looks like, let's see, Herron went 38.5, as did Schultz, and JD Beach 38.6. But Herron now has a little gap, doesn't he? It looks like he's trying to create that gap a little bit more, Greg.
Yeah, I think the initial gap obviously was created by the move into this corner a lap ago when Matthew decided to get his knee out there to start tipping it in. Herron was right there, and that was the little contact. And so Herron making the most of that slight gap that was created by that move, and now Schultz is falling into the clutches ever so slightly of JD Beach. But Jason, you could see that JD Beach on the number 95, that machine right there, he's really good on the brakes, but it just doesn't seem like he's got the drive.
Yep. Yeah, and I think he's, and I can't be for sure because I don't know what the guys are doing on their bikes. But JD's bike is definitely set up a little bit different than the others, just from sounding, just from listening to the bikes when I'm out there watching. So he's got a couple things maybe a little bit different, and I'm not sure how different it is to Matthews or not. But for sure to Cameron in their bikes. Actually to Matthews as well now I think back to. So here you go. Cameron Bobier now 4.2. That's going to look a lot nicer on the board when he comes around the next lap to see he's got a 4-second lead with it'll be 4 to go next time by.
I think that was a lap traffic thing.
Yeah, it could
be. I really do. I think that where Garrett ended up catching, it's very one line through turn 1 up to 2 and 3, and I think it's a difficult place to really make a pass. And Garrett Gerloff now 4.2 seconds behind. With 4.5 laps to go, he's got to put in some miracle laps if he's got a chance of catching his teammate Cameron Bobier and extending his race win streak. His podium streak is unbelievable. You know, after the start of the season for Garrett Gerloff with a DNF and a 9th place finish, he then had a third, his first podium of the season, then a 4th place finish, and he hasn't been off the podium since. race number 5, which was VIR race number 1.
If you watch that on board, you see even then he was into turn 9 a little bit deep and didn't quite make the flop over back to 9A as easy as he would have liked. I think when you go back and you ask him, he'll probably tell you, yeah, I messed up turn 9 a few times, and that was really the cost, and then a little bit of traffic as well. But it was the gap at the beginning that he just wasn't able to close up, even though he was showing he could. This is up the hill from turn 1 to turn 2.
You can hear under acceleration, the traction control working, a little rear tire spin.
And look at his head. So if you're home watching that and you're looking at his head, his helmet and his eyes are always that far down the road that even though the bike hasn't made that transition all the way back over to the right, the eyes are already looking at the direction you need to go. So it's up over the top of the carousel.
Up over that hill is blind, and when you're first here, it's a little bit spooky.
It is, because you do it with a lot of speed going up over the top. So when you're going up over the top of the hill, you're doing it with a fair bit of pace, and the bike gets extremely light coming up over there. And really, from when you go up the hill to turn 2 to the exit of the carousel, they've made safety changes, but the layout of the track has stayed the same throughout the test of time. I mean, since I remember my dad racing Superbike races here, that's always been the same. This is a spot where we see Jake Gagne right now, running 6 right this moment. This is going, again, through turn 5, up over the top of that carousel.
Yeah, and Jay, what I mentioned before is that oftentimes with Jake Gagne, the physical condition he's in, he is getting better, but a 5th place yesterday, kind of a lonely ride. And so the question is, where does his team work on this? So feedback from Jake. So it was a lot of data, looking at the data last night and trying to figure it out and making improvements. But the Scheibe Racing BMW S1000 RR, Jake Gagne, he is back and he is getting more fit as time goes on. Like I said, yesterday's broadcast, he spent the last 3 weeks before we got here surfing on the mountain bike, just recovering, enjoying life, and getting his head right to come back racing. It's great to have him back in the United States as we set this last bit of race action as we're here at Sonoma. Then we get a week off, then pit race, then a week off, then New Jersey, then a week off, and then the finale at Barber. And we expect to see this rider and this team continue to up their pace at each race we go to.
Yeah, and I'd love to see Jake Gagne kind of get back to a spot where he can start being up in that top 5 a little bit closer, and these guys this year have been working on that.
Cameron Beaubier, a 38 flat last time by, now extends his lead over Garrett Gerloff to 5.3 seconds. Right part of your screen, you can see the race pace as we listen to Cameron Beaubier. You're listening to the #1 plate, the national champion on a factory Yamaha, Monster Energy Yamalube Yamaha factory racing machine. Listening to how he works the controls of his motorcycle. Beaubier with the fastest lap of this race, a 135.695 all the way back on lap 1. Oh, lap traffic is the battle for 4th place. Skoltz 11, 95 JD Beach.
Yep, Josh Herron's cleared these guys now. He's out to, he went 38.2 the last time by and pulled out almost a full second on this next group. So,
number 42 is Jeremy Coffey on a BMW as well. So Coffey with his line in his race on the Superbike Underground entry. He'll get out of the way and let these riders continue on. You saw a little bit of puff of dirt. That happens in turn 1.
Yeah, it does, especially on the exit just over the curbing. If you can get out there a little bit wide and you touch it. So, but that time by 38.1 for Josh Herron, 40.1. So he gained 2 seconds on those guys that lap. So that's going to solidify right now a solid podium for Herron after his no finish yesterday.
2.22 mile road course here at Sonoma Raceway. Cameron Beaubier, Jason, with his 135.695, that fastest lap of the race. Give you a little perspective. When he did that, he averaged around this race circuit 83.5 miles per hour. Not the fastest average we see at some of the racetracks, but think about how much you're on the binders, on the brakes, and how much you're accelerating up and down hills. A lot of second gear at Sonoma Raceway on Superbikes. A tremendous amount of second gear. And to average 83.5 miles an hour around here is
amazing.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, pretty fast. I mean, really fast, actually. So you should see the white flag on the left-hand side of your screen as you come from this particular shot. You can see up there, this is going to be his final lap. Garrett Gerloff shaking his head. Not sure why, didn't see it, but maybe ran a little bit wide. Maybe got a little out of the seat. Maybe he couldn't find a gear. Not sure what the reason is, but he was shaking his head. Up over there, he goes up over turn 1 curbing. But this guy here, he did what he wanted to do all weekend today.
He did it today, and that was the big deal. He wanted to come in here, did Cameron Beaubier, and dominate this weekend like he has in the last 2 years. MotoAmerica's 3rd trip to Sonoma Raceway, and Cameron Beaubier, if he can get to the checkered flag on this lap, will have won 5 of the 6 races. It looked like certain disaster yesterday for Cameron Beaubier and his bid to hold on to the #1 plate until next season. And then early on in this race, Tony Elias on the Yoshimura Suzuki, your championship points leader and 2017 champ, has made it a little easier.
He actually gains 5 points on the weekend, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the big deal.
It's a big deal,
yeah.
you know.
So the net of this weekend for Cameron Beaubier, if he can take it to the checkered flag and win this thing, will be 5 points on Tony Elias. So, and that's mainly because when he got out of the race yesterday, did Cameron Beaubier, Tony Elias only finished, I say only, but he finished 2nd. So that was a 20-point haul. And this is going to be a 25-point.
Yeah, it's so rare to see Tony make mistakes, especially early in a race. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw Tony make a little mistake in the beginning of a race like that, but it happens. It's racing. It's just when it looks like everybody's got it on their side and there's nothing going to happen, it can happen, and this guy's going to get it today.
Here comes Cameron Beaubier, wheel in the air. The Northern Californian, the local rider, wraps up a win here in race number 2 in the EBC Brakes Superbike class. His teammate Garrett Gerloff coming to the line in 2nd spot, and Josh Herrin flying the flag for Suzuki plays his race in a perfect way after missing out yesterday, will stand on the podium here in Northern California. And then Matthew Skultz, a solid top 5 finish for him after an up-and-down weekend. And J.D. Beach in 5th spot on the Attack Performance Estenson Racing Yamaha. So good results all around. And Josh Herrin preventing Yamaha sweep today. Cameron Beaubier, so happy about that win. That went perfectly for Cameron Beaubier, constantly putting pressure on the rest of the field from the front, controlling the pace, and doing what Cameron Beaubier loves to do. So 5 out of 6 wins here at Sonoma Raceway for Cameron Beaubier. And really our talking points, Jay, besides this win, is just the exit of Tony Elias and now what the points are going to look like.
Yeah, and you think about it, Garrett Gerloff gets 45 points at this race. Tony got 20. And it really shoots Garrett Gerloff back up into at least feeling like he has a chance, because he gained points on his teammate this weekend. He gained points on Tony this weekend. So it's a 2nd place today for Garrett Gerloff, but a tremendous effort from him and his team again. And he's still in there with a shout.
And no dramas really this weekend.
No,
for
really
Garrett Gerloff.
good, really solid weekend.
So the Texan, Garrett Gerloff, comes to win and 2nd place. A little handshake from Josh Herrin. So Herrin, in his 1-year contract with Yoshimura Suzuki, has already notched 2 wins. And Jason, this is Josh Herrin's, by the way, first.
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to. It's his first podium appearance this season that he hasn't won.
Yeah.
So he's got 3 total.
3 total. Finishes 3rd today.
Yep.
But that's going to be okay. That's good. It's he gets a result, and that's what he wants to do, and he wants to get it on the podium for his team after yesterday, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's where he's going to find himself.
So looking down through the field, we have Beaubier, Gerloff, Herrin, Skultz in 4th, Beach in 5th, Jake Gagne, a solid result in 6th. Cam Peterson, outstanding for Cam Peterson. We get to talk about him and the Omega Moto. That crew has had its work cut out for him this weekend. Not a lot of laps, a lot of little things going wrong with the bike. I think a great solid result for Cam Peterson and Omega Moto on that one. David Anthony, after his up and down weekend, 8th place. Jeremy Coffey in 9th. Another one, had to put his bike back together, got out there. Sam Verterico coming off of his best EBC Brakes Superbike finish yesterday in 10th place. And Jake Lewis was able to finish on the M4X Star Suzuki in 11th. That was heartbreak for Jake Lewis exiting early. He was in 4th place in a good spot. I would have loved to have been able to see Jake Lewis race it up. Yeah,
all the way to the end. He would have probably been in that battle that would eventually go down to the wire for 3rd. So
Kyle Wyman finishes in 12th spot, and then unfortunately Max Flinders and Tony Elias didn't finish this race. But he'll be a very happy Josh Herron with his results. And here comes Cameron Beaubier having a little bit of fun with his Yamaha R1 and the rear Dunlop tire. Jake Gagne congratulates him. And there's Cam Peterson.
Yeah, you're right about Cam Peterson. He's actually put pretty good year in for those Omega guys because he's been able to finish a lot of races. And like you said, there's been some challenges there for sure. But, yeah, good. Cam's been riding really well.
So Cam Beaubier. Yeah, you're talking about Cam Peterson. Cam Beaubier.
Get the cams mixed up.
Yeah. Making his way to winner's circle. Making sure that he gets all the congratulations. A lot of family, a lot of friends here. There he comes in a winner's circle. Congratulations all around for him. What a great dominating performance. In the record books, it'll go down as 5.2 seconds over Garrett Gerloff, who definitely had a race, Jason. That was up and down. Can't wait to hear what Cam Beaubier, Garrett Gerloff, and Josh Herron have to say. That'll be coming up after this.
Fox Sports coverage of MotoAmerica Superbike racing from Sonoma Raceway has been brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the 2019 MotoAmerica Championship.
Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway, the Cycle Gear Championship of Sonoma, the EBC Brakes Superbike class. Race number 2 done. Here's the results. Jason Pridmore, Cameron Beaubier, 5.2 over Garrett Gerloff, Josh Herron, and Matthew Schultz, JD Beach, Jake Gagne, Cam Peterson, David Anthony, and Jeremy Coffey. There's a look at your results as Hannah is down in victory lane with our 3rd place finisher, Josh Herron.
Josh, you made up some much needed points after an unfortunate race yesterday. How was your battle with Schultz? How were you able to catch him and ultimately make your way to the podium?
Yeah, that feels like a win after yesterday and after how Laguna went. Cameron and Garrett were on another level this weekend. Congrats to them. They rode great. Today with Schultz, I was just all about tire management. I knew I couldn't catch Garrett or Cam, so I was trying my hardest to just save my tires. And when I got by him, it was just putting my head down and trying to make a gap, and it worked. So thank you to the guys, the whole Yoshimura Suzuki team. They worked really hard to get the bike back together last night. Thank you to all my sponsors, Suzuki, Yoshimura, Bell Helmets, Alpine Stars, Fresh and Lean, Black Claw, Cycle Gear, everybody that helps. It's a huge effort to get us here. I haven't had the results that I wanted this year, but hopefully towards the end of the year we can get a little bit more consistent. All I want is really just to be on the podium and fight up there for some wins. So thanks to everybody that believes in me. Thanks to the crowd for coming out. And see you guys in Pittsburgh in a couple weeks.
Thanks, Josh.
Well, Jason, with that mentality, I have no doubt that Josh Herron's going to be in the fight for the rest of the season.
Just has to get a little momentum. You know, I think that's the biggest thing for Josh Herron. If he can get some momentum going, maybe stay away from some of those little silly mistakes at the beginning of the races like that yesterday. If he could have just got through that race yesterday, maybe could have made his bike a little better. And I think that he knows that. And that's what I hear when I hear him talking. But we know he can win races.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a matter of just not making some of those little silly mistakes at the beginning.
All right, let's get down to Hannah with Garrett Gerloff, who had a eventful race.
Garrett, I want to talk about turn number 9. Jason and Greg said you had a couple of moments there, maybe a couple of mistakes. Do you think that was what kept you ultimately from catching your teammate for the win?
Yeah, I mean, I think just kind of mistakes in general, but yeah, I think it was like lap 5 or 6. I ended up running off in the chicane right there through the dirt, and that just kind of, I don't know, sealed the deal. I did everything I could for as long as I could to try to keep the gap where it was or closing a little bit, but man, with like 9 laps to go, I went with the softer option front tire again today, expecting it to kind of tear up a little bit, and it ended up doing it, and by the end of the race, like I couldn't get into any of the right-hand corners, especially the hard braking ones, and I mean, I was still giving it my all, but at that point, Cam had already pulled out a couple seconds, and yeah, you know, defeat, it sucks. It tastes about as good as I remember. So, but this is definitely like a Cam Beaubier track. So just to be as close as I was, I feel good, and we'll take what we learned onto to Pittsburgh and just ready to finish off the rest of the season strong. So yeah, just kind of give it all to my team, Yamaha Financial Services, Monster Energy, Yamaha, and then HJC, Cortec, Leathers, CD Boots, everybody that supports me, everybody that supports the team. Those guys are the best. All the fans that came out today, and I just got to give all the glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thanks.
A first and second place finish on the weekend for Garrett Gerloff.
Yeah, and 10 podiums in a row, Jason.
Yeah.
10.
Yep.
That's the podium streak. Garrett's got it right now, and he's continuing to pound them out.
I love the fact that he says, I remember what defeat tastes like. Yeah, I remember it, but he has nothing to hang his head by. Garrett Gerloff had a tremendous weekend, tremendous last couple weekends. I think Hannah threw us under the bus.
A little bit. We'll hear it from Garrett later, which is totally fine. But
Garrett will come after us
he
later,
knows what was
giving
up.
his secrets away.
Yeah, and we could tell that front tire wasn't perfect. But let's get back down to Hannah. Hey, listen, Garrett Gerloff said it's a Cameron Beaubier track, and Hannah, I think he's right.
Your teammate did just say this is a Cameron Beaubier track. After yesterday's unfortunate race, you made up some much-needed points in the charge for the championship. How are you able to kind of put the events of yesterday behind you and really focus?
Yeah, it was a tough race. I really wanted to come back today and rebound well. You know, I just feel like, I mean, Garrett kept the pressure on me the entire race, and for a little bit I thought it was Tony, and then I glanced up at the board with 7 laps in or something like that, and I was like, oh man, like Garrett's putting the pressure on, and hats off to him. He's been riding so good lately. He got tremendous speed, and I feel like it's really good for me too, because we just push each other at the tests and heavy practice sessions. So yeah, that was a tough race. I'm really glad that I was able to wrap it up today. And I just feel like we've been in a little rut lately, and it just feels, you have no idea how good it feels to get a win, especially in front of my hometown crowd. And it just feels great. So big thanks to Bell, Alpine Stars, and Amanda Buff for keeping me safe. My amazing team, Monster Energy, Yamalube, Yamaha, they're the last team here fixing my bike after yesterday. So big thanks to them.
Congrats, Cam. Thank you.
4 hours it took them to put that bike together, Jason, and they were rewarded for the race 2 win. Cameron Beaubier putting it down, and Jason, let me tell you something. Having a good teammate pushing you can be the thing that wins him this championship. We're going to take a break. On the other side, more from Sonoma Raceway, so don't go anywhere.